Hope I'm in good frame there. This is off the bat. Got my funny looking mic here. Just wanted to go over, this idea I came over recently about being perfect versus, just making mini wins and progress. And I caught myself in a very deep hole and cycle I was functioning and running on for the past, 2 years. And this relates to fitness and everything in life. And I know I'm very fitness oriented, and I'll keep it using fitness examples and on fitness topic, but really just around every area in life. I was stuck in this mind frame of perfectionism and all or nothing. I had to be 100%, or there was no, or 0%. There was no in between. And I spoke to many people who were kind of going over the same thing. A lot of it revolves around food. You know, if I eat that one cookie, then the world is destroyed, and I have to finish the rest of the sleeve. And kind of that concept of the mindset that never serves anyone. Never, like I said, I've 2 years. I was in a cycle of working hard, 100%. I'd say for 3 to 5 days straight, perfect days, and then I'd feel a little burnout coming, and I do I deviate from my schedule or the perfect example I had in my head for one task of the day, an hour of the day, 2 hours of the day. And I used to just turn that day upside down. I used to do everything that I kind of had in the back of my head that I wasn't supposed to do. A destruction day, right? Because if it's not perfect, then I have to be at zero. I can't be in between. And funny thing is, I was conscious of this cycle I was in for, throughout the 2 years, however long it's been. I think it's been ongoing longer because even with food before, I used to stick to my diet 4 to 5 days and straight. And sixth day, I eat something wrong, and then I'm like, okay, the weekend usually came. I ate something wrong. Okay, that means the whole weekend has to be horrible. That means, I gotta let myself cheat this whole weekend just because I messed up this one time. Instead of just, shrugging it off, taking it to the chin, what is one meal gonna do? Even if it doesn't serve you with your diet, it's not gonna turn things upside down. Like, for example, you can't get in shape overnight. If you don't work out one day, you're not going to lose all muscle. Or if you work out, same vice versa. If you do work out one day, you're not going to wake up the next day looking the way you exactly want to. But overall, just eliminating perfectionism, and you can try to be your best every single day. But when I realized this, that you don't have to be perfect. You can chill around a little bit. Not saying to go slack off or anything, but you can just flow throughout the day and still make progress. And that shifted my mind to, instead of seeking professionalism, and my idea of success was being perfect. So if I did anything that didn't align with the perfection of the exactly the way I had things planned, diets example, if I didn't eat my meals that I was supposed to eat 7 days out of the week, and you know that Friday night came along and I decided to binge off my diet, instead of just resuming the next day where I stood, I would let it affect me mentally. And it kept me in that negative, destructive loop for however long it lasted, until I realized, this isn't actually the path I want to go down to. Because I'm sure nobody wants to just see themselves declining day by day. Everybody has their ground point where they can't accept that and experience it anymore, but you don't even really have to go down that path. Excuse me, let me get these notes here. Just not settling, but being okay with doing your best. And there's a fine bridge between this, because you can't take it as, I'm just gonna flop about life and let things come to me. But then it's kind of hard to explain, because then you kind of have to flop about life and kind of be in the middle of zero being, not trying at all, doing anything you'd like, no goals in mind, versus 100 being perfect. Everything is perfect to a T, by the minute, by the hour. You got to be somewhere in between there. And pursuing these goals and things you have set for yourself in life. Be okay with messing up sometimes, and realizing that it doesn't make you any less of a person than you are. If you binge out and you eat horribly the whole weekend, you can always start Monday fresh and back aligned with who you are. The weekend passed, what happened happened, but it doesn't affect you anymore, and you can just use that moving forward. And when the next weekend comes, maybe you do have a little thing, little cheat meal here and there that you're not supposed to have, but you're okay with it because as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing 80% of the time, then all is golden, right? So, kind of just going over some notes here, just eliminating that all or nothing mindset, 0 to 100. Being a lot of people talk about moderation, and before I used to think moderation was the enemy. You can't be content, you can't be satisfied, you got to keep pushing for more. And I feel a lot of that was instilled by just everything going around right now, especially so many different information you're consuming online day to day, and this hustle grind mindset is how do you say it? It's idolized, and I fell in that trap as well. And it did serve me for a little bit, and I did take some things from it, but it's not sustainable. That's the main thing. And from fitness to anything in life, as long as you're doing what you have to be doing 80% of the time, you're golden. Those 2 days that you missed the workouts, that you didn't eat your planned meals, you continue the third day, and then you keep it in mind. Okay, how can I not be destructive after a meal, after one day? How do I just get back on track? And just by understanding and realizing that that day doesn't make you any less of a person than you were the day before. On your 5 day streak, 4 day streak, it's all about just rolling with the punches. And, I know I'm reiterating so many things, and I'm saying the things over and over, but this is just to further justify that, get that, to reframe your mind. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay to be just flowing with life. It's totally okay. And post to everything you've heard, post to the worries and fears in the back of your mind. Like, I've had them, I still have them. Catch them, then you realize that this didn't serve me before, and I never reached the results I wanted to achieve following this mind frame. So I have to change my way of thinking. Ultimately, coming down to, I can't just bum about some days, but as long as I do even 40, 30% of what I'm supposed to do that day, and I don't completely deviate to destruction and do all the things that I already messed up once, so I just got to mess up every other aspect of my life. Not follow the meals, not follow the workouts, not follow my work for the day. Um, that doesn't serve you. So just despite whatever happens in your life, things happen, things come up. You might not be able to work out for a month because you have an injury, but these things can shift you and alter you because you are you despite what's going on in the world. That's just a variable, but you stick to just yourself and your structure and intuition, and knowing that I did mess up a little bit in this area of life, but that doesn't mean I have to commit to it and accept it for who I am. It doesn't define you. But it's kind of just taking it all across. I know I'm kind of choppy everywhere, but just reiterating that point, and ultimately comes down to mini wins, right? You can't be perfect. You can't win every day. But as long as you just took one thing, and I take not being destructive as a win. If something bad happens that day and my day gets cut in half, and I'm completely unproductive the whole rest of the day. I probably have half of my meals I ate that day, and then the rest was just garbage. I can still say I won that day because I didn't self destruct. You know, yeah, I wasn't 100%. Maybe I was 30 to 50%. But as long as I caught myself in the day and I realized that it was okay to be doing what I was doing, and that I would be back the next day, then I was golden. And I hope you can take that, you know, being okay with failure. I know it's said all over, right? It's normal at this point, but genuinely not letting the outcome affect who you are inside of you, and realizing that you are who you are despite of your actions, and that you're gonna get back onto it tomorrow. And just staying in that positive mind frame, as I, I can speak personally, just made things a lot more easier in life. You know, I'm a lot less tense and a lot less worried, a lot less. You know, I have to do this, have to that, I have to do this, I should do that, I have to do this. That's all my life was revolving around, and I get to do this now. I get to sit here and record with this video. I don't have to do this. I love doing this, and choosing what I do with my life. I get to do this. Ooh, I want to work on that in order to push those areas forward. Kind of changing that whole mind frame. I don't need to or have to do anything. I can just sit around all day if I wanted to. But having that freedom, and that it's my choice. It's not something I have to do. And I feel like that kind of gets you. Like I have to stick to my diet. I get to stick to my diet. At least I have a diet to follow to take itty bitty steps toward my goal. I get to take part in my rescue and my goals. I get to take part in my own life. I get to be present in my life. Just reframing that whole kind of mindset that overall comes to that 0 or 100 mindset, and just taking life for what it is. I had an interview today and I kind of butchered it. I I didn't kind of butchered it. I butchered it, but it's okay. You know, just continue my life as it goes. Everything happens for a reason, and going off tangent now, but to wrap it up here, it's not all or nothing mindset. Remove that. Doesn't serve you. Does great, but if you this message resonates with you, then great. I'm glad I could help a little. Be posting more things. Most of these messages are kind of internalized first, and I process them and kind of like a guinea pig. Chris from First Man mentioned that before. It's technically what I am. Going about life, encountering errors and figuring out those errors and sharing them with all of you. Just save you some time. Go about your merry way, and yeah, all or nothing. Remove that mindset. Failure's okay. Just do what you have to do 60% of the time, 80% of the time, and you're golden.